And we're live. Welcome back. This is the final review of the game from today, which was Leeds United. You know, this is a premiere of our new show, which you will see is the title. It's going to be called The Final Frame, where we're going to go over all aspects of, well, today's Leeds United game, but the game in total. You've got the final verdict. You've got to have what the manager says in his post-match press conference, which let's start with that. And all I'm going to title today's is Shot Fired. So I'm just going to instantly play you this, and this is quite literally shots fired. If I can get it to work. Technical difficulties when we go early, so on. So for those who haven't seen it, the aftermath of the falling out from Amorim's press conference, in the last, I'd say, 30 seconds, he says the same thing about four times. And I can only play you 10 seconds. So if you want to see the rest, there's plenty of ways of finding it here on YouTube or any other platform. But this is what he says.
To be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then...
And then what? That is the question. And that's one of the topics we will go over in today's show. So straight off the bat, 1-1 draw with Leeds. Like, let's be honest, it's not what we wanted. And it's another opportunity we've wasted to move up into fourth today with other results. Pretty much everyone around us, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, they're all dropping points left, right, and centre, and we just can't better them. Now, I'm going to be the optimist here. Let's get rid of this as a side picture. I'm going to be the optimist and say that if we've got 8 players currently missing, then we're in with a good shout when those 8s are back. We're crying out for the defenders to come back. Heaven is being, I think, unbelievable. He's made an honest mistake today, just misjudged the pace of the player and the pace of the ball for Leeds' opening goal. And these are the kind of mistakes he can learn from. Last Monday, I was on Tactical Devils, and I said about how Lamens conceded the header because he didn't make micro steps. And yet today, he pulls out an absolute top save, full stretch, over to his left, tips it around the post, and he just managed to get that little step in first, which means he can get so much more distance on the dive. And that's what I'm hoping for these young players or the new players are doing every game when they come in. But first and foremost, I said in my preview yesterday that it was going to be long ball. It was going to be a game of long, who's going to outrun who, low blocks, get men behind the ball and see what happens. And let's be fair, if you watched it, that's all that happened. It was quite a boring first half. I felt that we needed 2 goals in that first half if we were going to go and win it. And obviously we came in at 0-0. There was nothing really to talk about. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin had a header strike the outside of the post. And again, that's the kind of movement I wish Sesko would make, where he makes a late run and just throws his head across the goal and aims for a corner. And then obviously we had our one-off chance ourselves, which we should be making more of. We should be making more of these chances in behind. But I think the sun might have played a big part in today. It must have been glaring off of every aspects in the first half when the ball was in the air. So it can't be that great to move forward. Why we're using a yellow ball in that sun as well. It's a 12:30 kickoff. It's not because it's dark. So the winter ball is now apparently not for just low light. It's just currently the winter ball at all aspects. And having played with yellow balls, that sounds wrong. But you know what I mean? It just isn't great. It's just different how you pick it up. That purple on the white and purple ball, I think it's just easier to pick out of the sky rather than a bright yellow ball coming out of the sun. Personal opinions. Everyone's going to have played football and done things differently themselves. So, yes, second half, we came out. I didn't think much had changed. I sort of thought we weren't going to make any changes, and obviously the only one we did make was Xerxes. I had people in private chats sort of saying to me, "Well, you can't change anyone at the back because all we've got is youngsters." And then you look at the bench, and it's like Tyrell Lamas, what was it, Fredrickson and Malacia were the only two on the bench today. And I was like, "Well, we're not taking Shaw from Malacia." And I didn't think we would have taken Euro off for Fredrickson. So the only way we were going to change things was obviously when the goal was scored, and he had to change formation to three at the back. And funny enough, he done what I suggested in the preview, and he pushed Dallo into the right side as centre back, which sort of worked better than I thought it would, because he wasn't offering us anything on the wings. And I know a lot of people will come in the comments and sort of say the same thing. That's Dallo for us. It just doesn't offer enough. But obviously, Leeds got their goal, and it was just an honest mistake. But the mistake came from, and I'm sorry, it's going to sound like a witch hunt, but it's not. It's just honest critiques. Dallo miskicked the ball. He totally runs his studs over the ball while trying to either whip it in behind Dorgu, crossfield pass or something, and Dorgu just couldn't react because he's within about 2-3 yards of him. And unfortunately, that just meant that they countered, and we all know what that means. If we lose the ball around the halfway line, Casemiro is not going to catch up with someone if they'd run off him, and he did. And is it Anderson, but with double A, Aronson or something like that, however you pronounce it, the American. He just got caught out because of it. About probably 4 yards too far forward. That's all it takes. Meant he couldn't get back in over the pace of, and it was a great finish into the bottom corner. I would have liked to see the keeper dive because I feel better off diving and not saving it than not diving at all and trying to stick a foot out. But maybe that's just my age. It's sort of one of those things we were taught as goalkeepers when we were younger. But what a comeback, This season, the only one thing I can hand on heart say that I've seen from the manager is when we go a goal down, that mentality has changed and we do go chasing to get level. Whereas before we were sort of losing a goal and we were like, oh shit, this could be 2 or 3 within minutes. And quite often it was. But then that partly was down to having Onana in goal, who just couldn't get it out of his head once he conceded. Whereas Lamens is so calm. I think he's just got the opinion, like I tell my son, is save the next one. Doesn't matter if it goes in, just save the next one. Chest out, stand up, right. Sorry, lads, crack on. And we went straight back up the other end, bring on Xerxes, who I wasn't expecting to even see. I generally thought after his last performance he'd be out the club. But again, listening to Amarin, maybe he said you can't loan him. I haven't got any players. If we get the players back in the next 2 games, then maybe there's a chance that Xerxes does go. But until we get Bruno, Mount, and Kobe back, we're too short in that sort of 10/midfield position. Inverting Dorgu in there today, he done a job, but he was never going to create as much as a Mount or a Bruno. But Xerxes came on, and he's got this good little interplay with Sesko. I do like it. Little one-touch, little flicks and tricks, where they can link up together. The only problem with that is neither of them then to get into the box. They flick it and they don't run to get into the box. They're just enjoying their football, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, but when you're not winning, it's something that a lot of fans will pick up on is the lack of penetration. So to make up for that, Cunha makes a great run. He's played in, and he just gets to roll it straight past the keeper. I said in the chat to Stu from Tactical Devils, I generally thought when I watched him roll it past in real time, I didn't think it was going to make it in. I thought the defender was going to get back. It just creeps over the line into the far corner, and I was like, thank God for that. But Then we went on. Sesko should be scoring the header, but he was offside. That's 2 in 2 games he's been offside, but he's missed them both. And for me, that's the best kind of practice you can ever have in a live match, where training's one thing, but you go into a match, you don't know you're offside, you're going for that ball, you can't see the flag behind you, so you've got to be putting it away. And he's missing too many now. I think stats wise, if I can just get the stats up, let's have a look. I think we just edged the possession, 55% United, 45% Leeds. Expected goals 0.93 for them, 1.45, but we missed 3 big chances. Now, I'm not a believer in stats because I don't see how expected goals can be 1.46 and then you're classing 3 missed big chances and a goal. Your expected goal must be over 2. So this is why I don't believe in a lot of stats. I think they're there more for the media than anything else. 15 shots. And this is where we have a problem again. And this is year on year. 15 shots. Sounds great. 2 on target. Only 2 shots on target. So again, where are we shooting from? What kind of shots are they? If these are the headers from the corners, then I believe the only other shot on target was Euro's flick on from Casemiro's header in the first half. So in the second half, we had 1 shot on target, 1 goal. First half, 1 shot on target and a very good save from the keeper. But 15 shots in total isn't good enough. 4 corners and touches in the box, 22. Whereas Leeds had 10 shots, 3 shots on target, scores 1, 6 corners. Because I thought, actually, we defended really solid today. My heart was in my mouth at one point when Martinez did throw his leg up and it came off his leg and hit his hand. And I was thinking back to last year where I saw a player do exactly the same and his arms above his head and it hit his hand. And I know they've changed the rule, but you just don't know what VAR is going to do. If you want to go and have a look at the latest VAR cock-up, it is the offside for the Liverpool goal where there was a grass line. You don't need VAR because you can see Wirtz's foot's over the grass line and the last defender's foot's behind the grass line. So therefore, he's offside. But automated VAR has apparently caught him as onside. So I'm a little bit worried still with that. And that's semi-automated. But, technology there to make the game better, right? So, yeah, that's all there really was to talk about in the game. It was a lot of defending. Right at the very end, there was some good tackles going in. I would have liked to have seen that through the whole game. It would have added a different aspect. I thought the ref did a really good job of letting the soft fouls go. And I hope our players learn from this because it's been at least the Wolves game, this game, and a few in the Newcastle game where you're backing into a player and he pushes you over because you're backing into him. That's not a foul. You smashed into him first and he's just rebuffed you to the ground. That, when you come down to the lower level, sort of step 4, 5, 6, that's not, it's never a free kick. It's never a free kick. It's just, I'm bigger and stronger than you. Get up, get on with it. So, evening, Sean. Evening. Well, we've just gone over most of the facts. I'm not sure how long you've been in, but we've just gone over most of the facts for the first half. The next bit I wanted to bring up is I will play it again just because I've got to be honest. I just love playing it. But it is worrying. But just for everyone, second time of asking. Let's put it back and let's give it away. Is this. And this is what we're going to move on to again, guys. So, turn your volume up. Let's just hear it again. Why the manager gives us another great, how should we say it? Words of wisdom. Well, I can never understand why it never wants to play it first time. Right, there we go. And play. Well, no, this time it won't let me play it, but I'm sure Sean's seen it. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it now. Give me 18 months and then basically someone else can take over. So it seems the manager has gone and fired shots at the board, at the players, and he's saying he's going to see out his contract unless fired. So at first, when I first saw the comments, I thought they were taken out of context. But now, having seen it myself, there is no way it's taken out of context. So yes, Sean, that's the first thing I did, and I'm going to be honest. Some people might laugh, but do you know what I did? I played it to my other half, and I let her, take it how she hears it. She, okay, she's a Liverpool fan. For my sins, I am with a Liverpool fan, but she doesn't care for Amarin. She doesn't care for the media or anything like that. Bit like myself. So I thought he made it very clear. If the players want to listen to Gary Neville and people like that and let it affect them, that's on them. I am here as the manager and they do as I tell them. I'm not a coach here to train the players. You buy the players and I put them out. No, you buy my players and you buy what I tell you to buy, which we all expected was the agreed words when you sign the contract. The words about 18 months, which he spoke, I think 3 or 4 times, basically saying, I'm here for 18 months and we'll see what happens afterwards, was the first one. If they bring someone else in, was another line that he used. And right at the very end, before he walks out, on the last lines, which is what's the video clip, which for some reason I can't get to play again, he says that as he stands up, I am here for 18 months and that's it. As if he's not going to come back again. And that's fair enough. So here we go.
To be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then.
And then what? As I keep saying, and then what? But if you weren't being backed as a manager, he's already seen the media backlash about walking away. Oh, you said you'll quit 3 times. You said you'll quit 3 times. Well, I'm now thinking of this as my job. If this was my job, I'd be like, no, hang on. You said you're going to do this. You said you're going to do that. So first off, I'm going to. Do you know what? Actually, I'll just quit. And it's sort of that testing the waters kind of thing, And now he's got to the point. He's got some things back that we didn't expect him to do. He got a run of form. What was it? 9 games unbeaten, or was it 1 loss in 10 or something? I can't remember what the run was now. But we're back to not losing games. We're not winning, but we're not losing, which last season we would have been. We are still in a very strong position because all the teams around us can't win either. So Amarin's sort of got a little bit to play with when it comes to negotiations. And I feel like he's taken, this is it. This is one chance you get in life, sometimes in relationships, sometimes in your jobs. You get one chance and you want to hope it works. And this time it is the shot at the board, where he quite clearly says the scouting department needs to do their job. The sporting director, Wilcox, needs to do his job, and I will do mine. I am here to be the manager, not a head coach. I am not here to coach the players that you supply. You are here to go out and find the players I want. And that is a very, very strong statement, because if it doesn't happen, or the board decide to choose Wilcox over the manager, you played your final hand, and now you're waiting for your P45. You're literally waiting to be out of a job. And that's why I think he finishes it off after saying that with, I'm here for 18 months. That's when my contract expires and I'm going to walk away. That's how I took it. And that's dangerous. But at the same time, for us fans, I think it's fair. I don't believe he's been backed as a manager in the way I would have wanted to be backed as a manager. There's a difference between the club buying players that we need and buying the players he wanted or he feels he needs. So if they told him he could have a midfielder, two strikers, 210, a striker, and they don't go and get the midfielder, did they give him that choice? Did they strike up two deals at the same time, go, well, we now can't get both over the line. Which one do you want? So it's very dangerous. No, they do not post those comments. And in the arms of an angel. Yeah, exactly those sort of words. They ring true right now. They do ring true right now. And the Jerry Maguire. Well, I think quite literally he's walking in the office every day going, show me the money, show me the money. So your Jerry Maguire will be spot on, because we can't keep saying, oh, United make this, but they don't have this to spend. We know they do, or they're feeding bullshit out to the media. And I know which one I would err on the side of caution. I don't believe we have the money without getting more in debt. So therefore, I believe that we just leak out who we're looking at. So that could be Wilcox. That could be someone higher up. It could be the transfer department. So it looks like they're doing their job. But I've always said, and you can call me a pessimist or whatever you want to call me, but until I actually see the guy putting pen to paper, I don't believe United sign anyone, because we're always used for contract negotiation, speculation, and every other aspect of football. It's, oh yeah, United are in for that. United are in for that, because we're always permanently been in a rebuild for the last 15 years. So it's very dangerous. But, Sean, you're in the chat. I know you say you don't know what to make of it, but if I was to put you on the spot, does this sound like a man that's just seeing out his contract? 18 months and I'm going to walk away. From what's been said, that's my feeling. I know you have a psychology background, so I would like to know what your take is on that. But yeah, the other aspect, guys, of this happening is they've got to now come in and potentially force players into the squad. We've got 8 players out. He's talking of Bruno making it back, and he's also for the next match, which is a disgrace, really, that he can make it back from a hamstring injury before Kobe Mainu and Maguire can make it back. I understand the injury with De Ligt is, someone said something, it's a spot, but basically it's something that's pressing on a nerve, and that's what's affecting his back. No, this is just what we're sort of saying. Do I think Amorim will go? I think he's now laying on his sword, waiting to be pushed. But I think he's saying, I'm not going for 18 months unless you sack me. I think he's gone a full 180 from what he said, what feels like about 3 months ago. Still not sure. I feel like he could be saying everyone has a job, judge me in 18 months. But do we let him get to 18 months? One way or another, whether you're hammering out or hammering in, 18 months on a contract. Well, it's really only 6 months, isn't it? He's got to sign, and you can't let a manager go into his final year of his contract and then get players in for him. So really, by the summer, if we don't finish Champions League, he's out of a job anyway. That's the way I just see business. This has got nothing to do with whether I'm hammering in or out. And I am keep the manager, just make it here. He's, in my eyes, he's made mistakes. He's young, but the players don't do as they're asked, and I know that just from being an ex-player at semi-pro level. So it doesn't take much for a manager to ask you to run your ass off and come off the pitch dripping with sweat. So that's my thing. My biggest issue is that he doesn't learn from his mistakes, and that's mine. That's mine. Or it's not that he doesn't learn; he takes too long, or he makes the same mistakes. Like the Newcastle game is a prime example, and maybe today it clearly looks like we played back four both today and against Newcastle. And then he went in between, he went back. So that's a mistake. But I feel the biggest mistake is he looks at the other team and tries to pick a team that will play well against their style instead of creating our own style. But then that's down to players. If the players don't listen, it's very hard to put your stamp on a team if they're not going to do as you say. So then you have to change and tweak the formations and ask people to do 1v1 individual jobs to stop the other team. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's literally been our season, isn't it? We are where we are. It's because we are so hit and miss. We're still creating chances today, but we still need to go out and buy a goal scorer. End of. At the moment, I don't want to do a comparison between Sesko and Rasmus, but Rasmus was classed as being terrible. Sesko is missing more chances than Rasmus ever did right now. So what's the difference? We haven't improved there, yet that's a new signing, but we've spent 70 million on both. So we know the manager wanted Watkins. Right now, we'd be screaming for an Ollie Watkins. Look at the goals he's scoring. So it all comes and goes. That's football. But this is the main question. Adam, you're spot on with this. Does he go after those comments? I would love to hear anyone come back in the comments afterwards or anything like that, because I genuinely am not sure with Manchester United. They backed him, which we used to call the kiss of death. Once you were backed, you tend to go a few games after if you didn't win, but he did. And right now we're in a transfer window of back or sack. So it's great. I get that. And the reason that is if you look back over, I'd say, let's go. So Ollie was backed in his first season, wasn't backed in his second. And that goes the same for Mourinho, Ten Hag. If you even look at Ten Hag's, we got players in on loan in January. They may have been crap, Veghorst, people like that. But we at least got them in. But in the second season, shut up shop. So when we spend 200 million, we are definitely spending, or say 400 million in the summer. We are definitely spending 2 years' money, because it's just coincidental that we don't buy anyone in the second year. And some people are saying, oh, yeah, but, they've backed Amber in 2 windows now. We're now moving into that third one, which is proving to be the pinnacle. And if we don't, there is no excuses in my eyes to not get a loan player and a cheap player, minimum. That's 2 players in. And they could both be midfielders. They could be Conor Gallagher, and they could be, I know it's not going to happen, but as I keep saying, Edison, 35 million, Atalanta, still got his, and it's a buyout clause, so you can trigger it. And yeah, I think the whole fan base was hoping Ineos would be different, because they wanted a saviour. But the fact is, when he first for the club, he was different. But when the whole Sheikh Jassim was, obviously, whether you believe it's real or not, but it done enough for him to go into bed with the Glazers and go, all right, well, actually, I'll sweeten a deal. You let me have this and you guys can keep that. And all of a sudden, his deal changed. He did whatever it took to get something in Man United instead of taking a hole. And from that point onwards, I didn't want Ineos. And I know that's where the Ratcliffe words came from, instead of, but chucking around, oh, we'll get a new stadium. Show me the funding. We're going to get back to Jerry Maguire again in a minute. I put some money in the club. Yes, but we can't. You've put it into the ground. 50 million. You've got a 28 billion personal wealth. So again, pocket change. But if you can't go out and buy that club outright, because then the Glazers, it was never going to change. And now that's where we're at. If Ineos want to make this work, the hand's got to go in a pocket and he's got to buy him out. And if it costs him 10 billion, it costs him 10 billion. You can't tell me owning Manchester United outright isn't going to make you that 10 billion back, at least for whoever takes over your wealth. Because obviously he'll push into the 90s. In the next 10 years, we can make 10 billion back. I'm telling you that right now. Pay off the debt, 600, 700 million a year, without the debt. Then that's all nigh on $1 billion a year because you're not paying all that money out. I'm not a finance expert, but in my head, if I can keep the money, I don't need to pay on my debt in my bank account, and I still making money, I'm making more. It's got to be that basic sometimes, and maybe that means we do spend more on players and everything, and that maybe that's a gamble. But if we get the sponsorship, bring in money. We were talking on the preview show about Nokia coming maybe as an arms sponsor or a training kit sponsor. That's 500 million. There's ways forward, but the green and gold's got to win. Funny enough, wearing it today, I'm not meant to wear green on this camera, but it's not too bad. But green and gold old training kit was still based around the Newton Heath colours, and until those Glazers go, we've got to go back to that club. And it is as simple as that. So what I'm going to do for the one last time, just before we go, we will yet again play this because for me, it's just funny. For me right now, it's the funniest thing we can play. Because what does it mean? What does Ruben Amorim mean when he says this?
Here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then.
And that's where we're going to leave it, because until then, we can't. We're just guessing, and I don't want to be that. That's what the media does, and that's what we can't buy into, guys. So have your own thoughts. Don't read what they put in the media. Listen to the clips. Listen to the words. Watch people's channels like Sean that's here in the thing, United versus everyone. Catch me tomorrow night on Tactical Devils, where we're doing the tactical breakdown over on Jarvis's channel. And, I will leave you with that. Thank you for watching the first of many, I hope, the final frames. It was 1-1. We haven't dropped that anywhere. We haven't gone up. We're still in 6th. And I'll see you on the next one. Catch you later.